So let's take a listen to this one from Blaze X, from Tume, on tape. This is called Some Hope.
Paul Cunniffe was born in 1961. When he was 14 years old, his family relocated to their hometown of Tume, County Galway. It was here in the Christian Brothers School that he met Paul Rafe, Davy Carton and Jarlath Keating. They all had a common interest in music and soon went on to form the groundbreaking Blaze X.
Okay, my name is Paul Stevens and I was the manager of Blaze X, which was Paul Cunniffe's first band. I first met Paul in the Hale Inn in Tume. I was playing a gig with Kevin Dwyer and Johnny Lakes, and we called ourselves the Medium Band. There were these young lads who used to come in, there were 16, 17-year-olds who used to come and sit and listen intently to the music, which is quite unusual in a pub. But one of them anyway was Paul Cunniffe, and he and his buddy Paul Rafe came to my house one day and asked me if I'd teach Paul Rafe to play the drums because they wanted to start a band. I went to Paul Rafe's house in Ballymote and the drum kit was there, and within 10 minutes I knew I didn't have to teach Paul Rafe anything. Anything he didn't know, Paul Cunniffe was able to tell him because he was quite a good drummer. In fact, he started off being a drummer but decided that it'd be much better if he was a guitar player, because then he'd have much more of a say in what happened in a band if he was a guitar player.
Ring me tonight. Some hope. No hope. Some hope. No hope. Some hope. No hope. Some hope.
When I heard Blaze X were formed, I could have put money on it before anybody opened their mouth as to who would be in the band. It was very exciting to have a band in Tume at the time. There were a couple going on and go with no comparison, of course. I heard a band performed in Tume and it was just agog to see who was going to be in it. And I could straight away, on the team sheet, I could have put down number 1, Paul Cunniffe, and I was right. Went to all their gigs in Tume and some in Galway. Saw them wherever I could see them in those days. Obviously, under your driving age, you didn't have a car, so you either hitched a lift or went with someone to the gig. I went to gigs with Kenny and Mary Rafe, went to gigs with Paul Stevens, of course. Hitching, anybody that was going in. Joe Stevens, Paul's brother, brought me to a gig one time. I also went with my brother Kevin. Brought my 2 other brothers, Angus and Ian, with me as well. Both very harshly critical music fans. But I remember going to see the Blaze X in the Odeon. They were the headline gig of, along with Shattered Image and a few different people like that. The place was absolutely waterlogged. It hadn't been used for years. How in this day and age you would never have been allowed health and safety. You're actually treading water in there with the electrics and everything. It was something else. And they had blow heaters on all day trying to dry the place out. It didn't dry out. I remember even my uncle Jarlath Burke, the editor of the Herald, went at the time. I remember him standing at the back, and he hated guitar music, and he just thought it was a great gig, great for the town, and Blaze X shone that night.
When I first met Paul Cunniffe with my brother Paul, the two of them were into motorbikes, and in particular dirt bikes. Just near town here, there was an area called the Sand Hills, and I suppose it's like a western landscape or a lunar landscape, and great fun for driving up and down the sand dunes on motorbikes, and you could do tricks and flips and turns, and if you fell off it was only all sandy and you didn't hurt yourself. So they used to have great fun out there and driving through the bog as well. And Paul had an accident and came off his, Paul Cunniffe that is, had an accident and came off his bike and had a broken leg. While he was laid up with the broken leg, that was when he started to learn how to play guitar. Just the confinement of that. I think before that Paul would have been too busy and too fleety. He was always on the go. He was kind of very active, nervy, and some people would say wired. But he wouldn't have been able to have the patience to sit down, I think, and take guitar lessons and do that. So he started playing guitar through the confinement of a broken leg from a motorcycle accident.
I remember him telling me that when they gave him the morphine in the hospital after he's breaking his leg, he said that was the first time in my life I ever felt fully relaxed, and he said that with complete sincerity, and that was, he did find it very hard to relax. He was always doing something. I think Paul would probably do about 4 times as much in one day as I would. I don't think he slept much. He wasn't the kind of, he'd grab naps for a while, but it was hard for him to sleep for, I'd say, for 8 hours in a row. I don't think he did that I might be wrong now, but I don't think he did. Not for when I knew him anyway.
You give me 1 time, 2 time, my selector, rock them 2 by 2. You give me 1 time, 2 time, my selector, rock them 3 by 3. Oh yeah, one can stop us now. I said yeah, one can stop us now. You give me 1 time, 2 time, my selector, rock them 2 by 2. You give me 1 time, 2 time, my selector, rock them 3 by 3. Oh yeah, one can stop us now.
When Blaze X disbanded, Paul Cunniffe made his way to London, where he continued to write and launched his career as a solo artist. He established himself as one of the most competent songwriters of his time.
You know, he was always singing, always playing, always serenading me. He would literally follow me around the house. He was kind of like a wandering minstrel. I'd either be in the bath or I'd be cooking in the kitchen, and he would sing and play to me all day long. He would just follow me around with a guitar singing, which was really beautiful. He would often phone me up at work because he would write songs live straight onto a dictaphone, and most of the songs he did, he wrote straight off as one. He only kind of really tinkered with them. Very few songs were kind of constructions. They were all intuitive, inspirational things. So he would literally get an idea. He'd often phone me at work and say, I can't find my tape, let me just ring into your office answer machine, and he would sing. So I'd put the phone down and it'd ring back, and he would then record a song onto my work answer machine, and then he'd kind of have to ring back later and take it off the tape, because otherwise he'd lose the idea, he'd think of the idea and lose it.
When he started writing songs with Davy, Davy was saying he used to sit up in the bedroom with Davy, and Davy would have a tune, he'd be whistling a tune, and Paul said, give us a minute, and he'd go off into the toilet with a notebook and a pen, and he'd come back with the lyrics, and he was able to do that, and within minutes he'd have a set of lyrics, no problem. Brilliant lyricist.
The first time Paul came into Sun Street Studio to do some recording, I think he was home on holidays from England to see his mum, who wasn't well at the time. He came to do some recording on acoustic guitar, and we recorded My Little Girl Called Paul, and I think some of those early songs. Then about maybe a year and a half later, he came back and we did a recording using the Saw Doctors as his backing band. and we recorded Excuse My Accent, and we recorded Groovy, and a wonderful version of Dreams with Porrick Stevens on drums, Peter Doherty on guitar, Leo and Davey on guitars, Derek Murray on guitars, and they were great fun, those sessions, and Paul was in top form. Great fun.
Thank God that the amount of his songs have survived, because as much talent as Paul had, he hadn't much in the organisational side of things, so it's a blessing really that so many songs did get recorded and as well as they did, because it would have been a shame if they hadn't been, and if they'd been lost into posterity. But it's brilliant now for the songs to have lived on, and for the likes of Dan and Paul's album to be out there for younger people to hear, because anybody who hears the songs loves them.
It was great fun, and there was a lovely sense of immediacy and kind of gentleness and innocence of him, which was one side of him. The other side of him, you know, he could be a hard man, as he had been growing up in Tuam. He'd been known to be in a scrap or two.
Paul had been a reputation as a fighting man when he was a teenager, and he earned that reputation when he came to Tuam as a teenager. On his first day in school, he took somebody on and wiped the floor with them, and he was the unconquerable hero of the fighting scene in Tuam. And then, about the time I met him, when his leg was broken and he was in a cast, one of the smart kids in town decided it was a good time to give Paul a bit of a scalp. So he hit Paul, and Paul was on crutches, but he ran after this man through the town, and the man was so scared of what was going to happen when Paul and his crutches caught up that he found the only refuge where he'd be safe, and that was into the guards' barracks.
People talk about his fighting side, which I think was perhaps true when he was younger, but he also had a really kind of loving, fun, caring side, and he was just hilarious. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's made me laugh as much as him, and I kind of don't think I ever will. It was just one great big adventure. We would kind of get in the car and just say, where are we going to go today? And we would just pack up, head off somewhere and sort of see what happened. I mean, he liked a bit of danger, he liked to take risks, he didn't like things that were dull and boring. I mean, even going to the supermarket was crazy with him, and I can't quite think of why, but it just was, because all sorts of, he would pull stunts all the time, he was always messing.
I remember we were playing down in Ilford in England one time, and he and Joe were at the gig, and he parked the car. He was actually supporting us, and he parked the car in the car park next door, and Joe went out to get it, and the car park was closed or whatever. She came back and told Paul, whatever. So it was just, Paul left for about 10 minutes, as he would often do. He came back up about 10 minutes later, and Joe said, what are we going to do? He said, it's out. And we never knew how we got the car out or what he did with it. That kind of thing to Paul was like just normal night out. He probably, God knows what he did, but he wouldn't have considered that to be anything of a problem. He was amazing like that. He was just...
Several band lineups. There was one called Wild Shots, there was another one called Manchild, various different lineups. He loved the electric stuff as well. They did a lot of recording, a lot of rehearsing, places like Terminal Studios. I know he started out working in Backbeat Studios, which is, at the time, Manic Street Preachers were recording there actually. They were around when he was rehearsing a lot up there. But he played and recorded quite a lot in a lot of the London studios. There's quite a bit of footage around. played with some amazing musicians. He had some musicians of real calibre with him. For me, I think the combination he had with Kieran Kiley, who was originally in the Popes, and also worked with Sinead O'Connor and then with Ronan Keating, was the best. The two of them together were like brothers, and the kind of sound they had. On the CD, excuse my accent, Kieran played the low whistles, the accordion, the Hammond organ, and synthesizers, and so kind of he's an all-round musician. I think they did some amazing gigs. They kind of played all over London. He also was a guy called Andy Conklin, a fantastic bass player who was on the CD, who worked with Christopher, and I think a fiddle player called Robin McKidd, who was in the Balham Alligator. So he worked with quite a few people of real kind of calibre.
Later on, I had him in another session with Kieran from Cork, from Shane McGowan's band, The Popes, and we did wonderful stuff of The Road Is Long and Be the Cat Changed My Mind and Been to Heaven, all that stuff that later came out on the album Excuse My Accent. Those sessions were they were great fun again, indeed, and Paul was staying over in Hertford, and he had an old Land Rover he brought from England, and I think Joe was with him, and Kieran, and I can't remember who else, but I remember one morning they had a mad dash from Hertford to here in the Land Rover, Kieran and Paul. Kieran got here and he was a nervous wreck. He said, my God, he said, I didn't think we'd get here alive in one piece. And I said, why? He said, that road from here to Hertford is all twists and turns. And he said, God, he said, we were going at such speed. I'm a careful driver, said Paul Cunniffe. First sign of danger, he said, I slow right down to 70. So that's what Paul was like. He liked to live life on the edge and full speed ahead.
First time we ever went off to Clare Island, Paul came with us, and he had a car. He drove the car to the quay in Runa. We went out to Clare Island for the night. We had great crack, and we came in then on the boat the following afternoon. A beautiful day, and Paul was looking. Oh, he said, I left the keys on the island. But that was so typical of Paul. There was never any time you'd go somewhere with Paul and it would be like a straightforward day out or night out. There would always be some kind of a diversion or so, and he just took it all for granted. So we had to ring the island and the people. He knew where the keys were, and they sent the keys over on the next boat, which was 3 hours away, and we went in for a swim at the time. And Paul was like a dolphin in the water. He was a brilliant swimmer, and I went in swimming, and Paul had to pull me out because I remember I was thinking, God, the waves were coming up high and they were smashing me up against rocks, and he came over. It was like a mother would catch a pup and drag him out of the water.
I also remember on those first sessions that Paul came in on his own with his acoustic guitar, I said to him, you might want to check your tuning there. I think your G string is a little out. And here he was, a singer, songwriter, and he said to me, which one is the G? He said, I don't know the names of them. He said, what? Which just goes to prove the natural talent he had. He just did it like, and he got it to whatever sounded right to him. And he wrote all those wonderful songs.
Prolific periods when he was kind of writing and gigging and singing, and things were going really well for him, and I think where he thought that this would really happen, I think he found it really hard that he didn't kind of achieve commercial success. That was a massive disappointment in his life, and I think he didn't get the management and he didn't get the support he needed, and I think he found that really just supremely disappointing. He didn't have the business acumen instrument himself, but you know, somehow or other, Owen at the time, he just never got picked up. And yet I think now, you know, he was so marketable, he had the most amazing voice, he was so talented, he was so beautiful. You know, it still kind of makes me sad to think that he never sort of achieved the success he should have done.
He was totally unique, amazing person to know. I never knew anybody else anything like him, really. Paul's life was filled with extremes. Everything Paul had, he had it in huge amounts, bucket loads. He had amazing singing talent. He was an absolutely beautiful singer, and he was a great writer. When you listen to a song like Dreams, you realise how eloquent and skillful he was with the English language.
Paul Cunniffe and my brother Paul moved to London in, I'd say maybe 82, 83, somewhere around then, and they were living in a place called Phipps Bridge in London, and working and don't think doing much gigs and stuff, penniless and starving in London. And there was a place nearby where people had allotments where they grow their vegetables in little vegetable plots. In the dead of night, the boys would sneak down there with carrier bags over the fence and get the potatoes and the vegetables for tomorrow's dinner. Paul had, he stayed in London and was over and back and had an unhappy time, really. That's one of the things that comes through in his songs, that his whole life story is in the songs. In particular, you would think of a song such as Excuse My Accent, where he tells his life story, and that feeling of alienation and of not fitting in. He didn't fit in England because he had an Irish accent, as they thought, or whatever. He had a southern accent or a northern accent. And he didn't fit in over here because he had an English style accent. And he had a difficult relationship with his father, and that troubled him all his life. He was always looking for acceptance and encouragement from his father. I think his father gave him that, but not in the way Paul wanted, and troubled him a lot, which probably goes in some ways to him having a lot of trouble in his life, but as I say, being a true artist and a true songwriter, it all came out in his art. And his first child, Paula, he has that song, My Little Girl Called Paula, and that relationship broke up, and he's got Part-Time Girl, a wonderful song where he talks about being his part-time dad.
We'll never meet another Paul Cunniffe. I mean, we all kind of, it was a terrible loss, terrible news when we heard it. We were in America at the time, in Atlanta, I'll never forget, of course. But at the same time, I suppose people, those of us who knew him pretty well, kind of agreed that Paul was probably never going to collect a pension, because he lived such a life on the edge and so full of incidents and things happening around him and chaos.
Paul was a singer-songwriter in the classic tradition. Was these, like Nick Drake, almost, like too good for this world, too fragile, not fully equipped to handle the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. But a true artist. And we all loved him dearly, loved him very much. We had lots of fun times with him. We had frustrating times and had tough times with him as well, but the good times far outweigh everything else. And the legacy he's left behind in the music, and the inspiration he's left behind to generations to follow, I think will live for a long time. And I think these songs of Paul's will live for a long time. I know they mean a lot to me and to my family and my friends, and we'll always cherish them.
And isn't it strange? Strangely strange, how we all stood still, how we all stood still, and forever will. Isn't it strange? And isn't it strange? Strangely strange, how the lights went out, how the clock stood still, and forever will. And forever will. Isn't it strange? Strangely strange, how love blooms still, and it's your songs that they sing. Isn't it strange? Strangely strange, without Paul Cunniffe, oh so strange. Isn't it strange?
Brightest smile in town, spirit is living, you're acting like a clown, you're laughing and kidding, you're so proud of the place that you came from, the brightest smile in town, brightest smile in town. For you for now, that's what you're singing, the tears and the joy, the music is bringing, you stand your ground, no one, no limit, never slowing down, brightest smile in town. Sunshine in your eyes, your dreams that can't deny. Everything is wonderful. Brightest smile in town. That's what they're saying. No need to frown. Brightest smile in town. No need to frown. Brightest smile in town. Never slowing down, brightest smile in town.